paying our respects to the three jewels. Namo Buddhaya.
Namo Buddhaya.
Namo Dharmaya.
Namo Dharmaya.
Namo Sanghaya.
Namo Sanghaya.
Namo Namah.
Namo Namah.
Om.
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 So today's an auspicious day for a couple of reasons. Firstly, following on from the 16 ordinations that we had here at Adhisthana earlier in the retreat, today there are 5 men joining our order at Padmaloka. It will start about 4.5 hours from now, whatever time that is where you are. And there'll be a link in the chat if anyone has really got tremendous appetite for Zoom, you can follow these sessions and tune into those 5 guys taking that great leap kind of into the unknown to some extent in joining us. So today's auspicious from that point of view. And then it's also here it's full moon day as well. So in 12 hours from now, the moon will be full. So I think that's probably 10 a.m. in the mornings of New Zealand time. So a very auspicious day. And yesterday wasn't particularly auspicious, but we did spend some good time meditating and practicing together. And you remember that we spent time looking at empathy and compassion, and particularly some of the issues around that, and exploring some of those. Yes, I won't recap all that, but there's the great kind of wish for all beings to be free from suffering, from all to know how things are, for them all to open their hearts and love and be loved. And then there's the engaging in specific situations, which really is a practice of upaya. So it's encouraging us really to be as skillful as we can and as self-aware as we can in coming in contact with suffering and trying to help, just particularly noticing ways in which we're falling into near enemies, and traditionally the near enemies of compassion, you'll remember, a horrified anxiety with which we're surrounded in all sorts of ways these days, particularly if you go anywhere near social media, and pity. But I think if we explore our own experience, we'll probably find some others as well. And I was sort of pointing in that sort of direction a bit yesterday. What else did I talk about? Oh yes, we got on to solidarity with life. And in session 2 yesterday, I think we played that game with Zoom, looking at the screen, and you look at the screen, I look at the screen, and I find there I am. Oops, I've just disappeared. Oh no, I'm back now. James is playing with it. Yes, there I am on my screen. I'm up there in the top left-hand corner, and there's me, and that's got a yellow kind of box around it because I'm talking, and that yellow box kind of separates me out from everybody else. But that's all because I've been using my mind in this very particular way for all these decades now, where I identify with this particular me in the box. Yeah, I keep looking out to find, there I am. Oh, how do I look? Oh, is this blue jumper all right? I'm not sure. Yeah, and in doing all that, I create a sense of being separate. Somehow I take myself away from the rest of the screen, when actually my basic experience is that there's a screen and there are all of you, all there. I actually have to do something to create that sense of separation and split off. And a lot of what the practice is doing is it's inviting us, as it were, to step out of our box and to all meet, as part of one common field, family of humanity, of life, to step fully into the dance of life and to be together. Yeah, so we create the sense of separateness, and then we have to start with, it feels like there is a separation, then we have to somehow meet each other over it. But as our wisdom goes deeper, we see that actually it was a mind-created thing. I think there's a quote by Jack Kornfield that I like, which is, the mind creates a chasm, so like a crevasse, like a separation. The mind creates a chasm that only the heart can bridge. So the rational mind sort of operates in terms of self and other, I, me and mine, you and yours out there, they and them and theirs out there. But that's us putting a conceptual filter onto our experience. And when we go deeply just into our direct experience, we don't find it. So from that point of view, life as it is extraordinary and wonderful. We've just lost track of that. And then yesterday we also did a meditation in the session 3 on heart wish. So we tuned into our heart to feel, what is it that my heart really longs for? What does it really wish for myself? And then also, what do I really wish for the world? What do I wish for others? And that's a way of trying to tune into what it is deep down that's driving us to go for refuge, what it is that's really fueling it. And when we come down to it, there are different motivations. We all have a number of them. But we come down very often to something quite simple, like, I really want to be free. That's really what I want, to be free. Or I really want to know, I really want to understand what life is about. I really want to understand how it works. I want to know. Or I really want to love and be loved. And when you come down to that real sort of core, deep feeling, and that's and you're in touch with that, it gives tremendous power to your life. And often we don't quite want to go there because we can't quite see how it would happen. And so we sort of try and put layers of duvets and mattresses on top of it and sort of live on the surface of ourselves. But all the time it's there somewhere, sort of deep down. It doesn't go away. Yeah, it keeps waiting for an opportunity to express itself, to come out. And the Dharma is addressing that. The Dharma is addressing what we really want, what we deeply long for, what's really important to us, and encouraging us to live from that, however inconvenient it may be, because it's the only fulfilling way to live. And then there was that second question, what's our heart wish for the world? And again, it's the same. Yeah, what do we really long for the world? And we may find different things. Talking to people who've done that practice, someone might say, what answers have I heard recently? Oh yes, I really just long for the world to be at peace. And on a more relative level, that there be no hunger, that nobody is starving. Or a good friend of mine said that she just wanted people to wake up. Yeah. She just wanted them to stop wandering around, kind of lost in who knows what, and wake up. That was what she really, really, really wanted for people. So whatever it is, whether, yes, again, you want people to be free. You want them to, you want them all to be loving and loved. You don't want anyone to be kind of neglected and feel kind of abandoned. You just want them all cared for. Whatever it is, to know that and to be in touch with that when you sit down and practice, fuels it. It gives it the power, the fire. I think last night when I was leading the Bodhicitta practice, at one point I used this word furnace, which and I thought, oh dear, I'm not sure that's very good for people working in a second language. Furnace is I didn't explain it because it would have got in the way of the meditation. But a furnace is something where you make a very big fire and it's contained. So it's really sort of powerful burning, which is contained within some kind of structure. And I wondered afterwards why I used that word. And then I remembered some of my meetings with Bhante. And like I was Bhante's secretary for quite a few years. And so I saw him interact with a lot of people. And somebody would come to him and they'd be struggling in some kind of way or wondering about the Dharma or wondering whether they had it in them to do anything very altruistic. And Bhante would be encouraging, but he'd be very empathetic and understanding, and he could be endlessly patient. But then at some of the time, maybe after they'd gone, it was as if this big furnace door would kind of open, and you just got this sort of, it was kind of really almost knocked me backwards sometimes, just the power of how much he cared about the Dharma and how important it was, and particularly, where he could sort of understand why people felt they couldn't do anything, be of any help, but actually he just thought, well, but really you could, and if they could only see what a difference it would make, if you could only see how vital it is, the Dharma gets out into the world, they would operate differently. So there's every now and again I'd sort of get a sense of these heart wishes in there, just kind of burning, kind of behind those spectacles, behind this sort of in the later years, that sort of Norfolk country gentleman kind of look. There was this extraordinary fire. So yeah, we need to find that in ourselves. We need to find what we really care about, what really moves us to practice. And then we were cultivating this very powerful feeling of empathy, reflecting that one's life is inextricably bound up with all other beings. And seeing that also produces gratitude, we were talking about yesterday. So this part of the practice, we're starting with connecting with other people, seeing firstly how deeply we're engaged with one another. It's so deep that you can't really, from a certain point of view, you can't even talk about one another. There are all these words, interconnectedness, interpenetration. Thich Nhat Hanh talks about interbeing, and none of them really do justice to it. Interconnectedness suggests two separate things, like links in a chain that we kind of put together. But we're much more closely connected than that, much more closely involved than that. There isn't really a way of putting it in words. Partly because words involve distinguishing into one and many. And that's also another conceptual filter that we put onto things. So when we come right down to experience, even one and many doesn't apply. So our connection with one another, you can't say we're one, we can't say we're separate. How it is different from either of those, is deeper than either of those. All we can say is that it's very, very close and very, very intimate. And when we really get it, it's very, very beautiful. So the practice is focusing on what we all have in common. And the way I often approach this is to say that Buddhism can make very subtle distinctions, very fine discriminations in like states of mind and different areas of life. But fundamentally, it tends to focus on what's common. Whereas very often with our discriminations, we're focusing on what's different. We're separating out, there's those people over there who think that, and I don't think that. I don't think that at all. No. There's those people out there who are different from us, who are different from me. We're all the time, I like this, they like that. I know that this is right, they believe that. So all the time we're making these separations, these judgments, which are all useful on a certain level. So I'm not being critical in that way, but with all that apparatus, all that ability to think in that way, very often we lose what's common. So a lot of the Dharma is focusing on what's common. So when you focus on what's common in all experience, then you have wisdom. So whatever's happening, whatever's going on this moment, there are certain things that we know are going to be true about it. Either because the Dharma tells us or because we actually go and have a look and see that it's like that. Yeah. So for instance, whatever's happening, it's always flowing. It's always transforming. It's always changing. It's new every moment. Whatever's happening, if we cling on to it because it's flowing, there's a friction between our attempt to cling on to it and the fact that it's moving. It's like, when I was a kid, you had kind of buses, you know, with a sort of platform at the back that you could step onto and a sort of, you know, a vertical pole that you could grab. So sometimes you'd run to catch the bus and you just grab onto the pole, but the bus had started leaving the stop. So there you trying to hold on to this thing, but it's moving away from you, and there's the dukkha of that. And you have to decide whether to try and jump on or just let go. Yeah. So there's always, that's always true, whatever's happening. If we try to cling on and sort of fix something, there's dukkha. And when we go into it, we don't find that whatever it is, whatever the experience, we don't find anything, any core to it, anything substantial. There are no things. And it's the same if we go into what we think of as me. We don't find the me that's the one who's having this experience sort of back here looking at the screen. It doesn't matter what's going on. That's always true. And equally, when we really go into it, we don't even find that distinction between me and everything else, me and everyone else, me and you. Except as a, you know, something that we're putting onto the experience. And so on, yeah. So whatever's true all the time, whatever's common to all our different experiences, shows us wisdom. And then, whatever we find that we have in common with all life tends to produce compassion. And this is where this part of the practice is coming from. It's encouraging us to say, to look and say, yes, you know, we're superficially, we're all different in so many ways, and yet, let's look at what we have in common, which is much more important than the superficial differences. That's what's going to really open our hearts. Yeah, we can appreciate difference. It's fantastic that we all have our individual qualities and we bring them to the order and so on. But it's also vital that we can see our common going for refuge, and beneath that, our common humanity, and beneath that, our common membership of the family of life. Because that's what links us on that deep heart level. Okay. So that's kind of brought us up to date with where we got to with the text. So the next part says, also reflecting. All beings are essentially like oneself, insofar as they desire happiness and dislike suffering. So this is, again, encouraging us to see, well, what we have in common. So there are all the different expressions of our likes and dislikes, but we all have in common our own likes and dislikes. We all have our own cravings and aversions. So here it just talks about they desire happiness and dislike suffering. Sometimes it's slightly more elaborated. Yeah, you know the four right efforts. Yeah, you remember those from the Mitra study, if nowhere else, don't you? The four right efforts. So there's the efforts to produce and maintain skillful mental states, and to eradicate and prevent from arising unskillful mental states. So those have their kind of mundane equivalent in terms of likes and dislikes. So all beings like to get and have what they like, and they do their best to produce the things that they like which have not yet arisen. And they dislike what they dislike and want to get rid of it, and they want to prevent any more of it arising. So you have the same four, yeah, but these are, they're not right efforts. They're not exactly wrong, but they're sort of, from the point of view of gaining awakening and enlightenment, they're the four wasted efforts. Put it like that, which we can all relate to. So yes, in our different ways, we're all trying to be happy and avoid suffering, and it's worth coming down to that, particularly where there are people who do things that we are frustrated by, repelled by, and so on. You think, why on earth do they do that? And underneath that is the thought of, why can't they be more like me? And the reason why they're not more like me is because they're like them, yes, and they have different likes and dislikes, and they have their own ways of being happy. But that's what they're doing, yeah. They're practicing those four as well. They are, in their own strange, peculiar, unpleasant ways, just trying to be happy like us and just trying to avoid suffering like us. So when we kind of empathize a bit and kind of think, well, it must be like that, then we can find more sympathy. This person, yes, doing that, they're really trying to be happy. And it's often easy to see how other people are doing things that they do to try and be happy aren't going to work. It's a little bit harder with us sometimes. But that's what we're all trying to do. So, yeah, everyone that we're looking at the screen, everyone that we know, everyone around the globe, all beings, yeah, even animals, all kinds of beings, they're all doing that. Yeah. So we all have that in common. That's just fundamental. So we come down to that common fundamental level and relate to all beings like that. Yeah. Okay, let's stop there for a little bit. Let's do some meditation, I think, and then we'll come back to the other two. So settling into here and now. What's going on this moment? Go deeply enough into this moment, as we've seen. Show us what's true finally about every moment. Now looking for that downward movement. Because energy and awareness go together. We can either bring awareness down to the ground and our energy will tend to follow that, or we can feel, imagine at least, energy going into the ground. And that's where awareness will be. So we start the meditation by touching the earth. And as we do this meditation after meditation, gradually, as if we come to be on a Vajra seat in our meditation, unshakable. And from there, the body can rise up to its full height. Right to the crown of the head. The sense of the open sky above us. And again, bringing awareness into the body. Aware of the feelings and sensations. Noticing any likes and dislikes that they trigger. No need to do anything about the likes and dislikes, other than not be identified with them. Just let them come and go like the sensations. Holding the feelings and sensations in kindly awareness. allowing the experience to become simpler and simpler. Doesn't have to be a me bringing awareness to the sensations. It can just be awareness, aware of the sensations. Doesn't have to be awareness of sensations. It can just be aware sensations that are themselves kindly. Now, particularly through the aware sensations of the breathing. Now, if it feels right to you, be aware of all of us on the retreat, all of us practicing together, all in our different situations, different bodies, all taking in the breath of life and giving it out. And this kind of awareness could widen out much further. Could be aware of all the billions of human beings, all over this planet. All taking in the breath of life and breathing it out. Some breathing in sea air or mountain air. Some breathing in traffic fumes or smog. Some exerting themselves, breathing fast. Some fast asleep, snoring as they breathe. Some taking their first breaths in a new world. Some struggling to breathe, taking their last breaths. All of us breathing together. and not just human beings. Bears breathing, birds breathing, all the life that depends on air, all breathing together. And when we're ready, let go of doing anything particular. Just aware, flowing experience. Just as it is. And as always, we end the meditation with open hands, sharing the benefit of the practice with all beings whom we have so much in common. And sparing a kindly thought. The 5 men at Papaloka, breathing excitedly, or a little nervously or calmly, we'll be joining our order in a few hours' time. So now we'll have a break, perhaps a drink, hopefully one that we like and not one we dislike. And we'll meet again at 20 past.
Does anyone know how to take a screenshot with a laptop? Because I'd love to take a picture of Vessantara when he's talking. Anybody know how to do it on a laptop?
Yes,
Oh.
Amajata.
Who's that? Hello there.
It's Vijayashri.
Oh, right. Yes. How do you do it, Vijayashri?
Well, the way I do it is you see there's a button called print screen or PRTSC.
Yes. It's at the top. Yes, got it.
So what I do is I press that, and then you have to open a document and copy it to the document, to a page, yeah.
Right. So if I press print screen and it clicks something, where is, sorry this sounds so thick, but where will the picture be found then?
It's saved to the clipboard, I think.
Oh, and then you do, well, I'm not sure what paste is, control something for paste, for sort of pasting.
Yeah, and then you paste to a document. You have to open a document and paste it. That's how I do it. There might be other ways.
Does that work for a photo then?
If it's on the screen, yeah, it just prints whatever's on your screen. Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you. Thank you. I did.
Right.
I've taken. Now I not by design really, but this morning I did the meditations using the my phone because I hadn't got up in time to put the laptop on, and I did do. I took a screenshot with my phone, so I've got a couple of them in Adhisthana Shrine. So I could come into a session on my phone, but then I can't see people really. So I didn't want to do that. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll have a go.
Try that. There might be other ways, but that's what I've found. All right.
Okay. Thank you. I did look it up on the internet, but to be honest, I couldn't understand the instructions.
No. Okay. Good luck.
When you're hi, it's Shradhanaya. When you're pasting it, you go Control V.
Control V is paste. That's right. Control P is print, isn't it? I always remember that. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I'll have a go with that. Thank you. Be nice to have a picture of him teaching.
Absolutely. We've got a few more days, so you can see how go.
Yeah, I thought at the last I'd go in. I'd have to come in. I could come in on the phone. I mean, one thing about these long sessions is that I thought if I came in on the phone for half of it, but then I disappear, will I be able to get back? I'm always worried about not being able to get back in. So I'd rather stay in a session rather than have a picture of Vessantara. See what I mean? But yeah, I'll have a go. Thanks very much.
Suppose you could put both on at the same time, and so therefore, if it didn't work, you're still there.
Yeah. I did wonder about that. I wasn't sure whether I'd be able to get in twice in that way. That is a brilliant idea. Whether Adhisthana would let me in twice, if you understand what I mean.
Well, there'd
but
be
that-
two of you. There'd be two squares of you. One from your phone and one from your computer, where you have
Oh,
both on.
okay. But then I could quickly do a shot of Vessantara on the phone. That's actually easier because I know how to do it, and it comes
Yeah,
out as a
that's probably
proper
easier.
picture.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Good
technology is
luck.
amazing, isn't it? But you know, well, I don't know about you, but when I'm on retreat, I usually take actually not pictures of people really. It's usually of the shrine and the gardens, sky,
Yeah,
and this sort of
me
stuff.
too.
But
Yeah.
you know, it'd be nice. You know, the options at the moment are limited. Anyway, it'd be lovely to have a picture of Vessantara teaching. So
Yeah,
yeah.
no, what a good idea.
Mm.
Good.
Thank you. Where are you from, Shraddhanaya?
Melbourne.
Oh, Melbourne. And what time is it there?
It's 8 o'clock at night.
Oh, right. Okay.
Padma
Padma. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
in Cambridge in the UK, so it's
Padma-
you know, 11 o'clock. Yeah,
civilized.
yeah. Are you catching up on the sessions outside, or what are you doing?
Well, yesterday I actually stayed up because I like to see them live.
I know. Yeah.
It makes a big difference. And it sounds a bit unusual, but I can't sleep very well because at 1 o'clock in the morning, I wake up with a jolt because the session started. And then I must be just tuning in, and the same at 4 a.m. So it's not very good. So I need to try to sleep tonight because I'm a bit overtired. But
yeah. I think it's very interesting the point you make about whether it's live or not, because in a way, Vessantara's meditation so far, you know, a lot about kind of connecting. And it is interesting. I found myself, some of my friends have said, oh, well, why don't I work full time actually? So this is the only online retreat I've done so far. But some of my friends have said, well, why, you know, the stuff's out there. Why don't you do, you know, listen to the sessions on, you know, whatever retreat it is. I could do that while I'm still working or something, but it doesn't feel the same at all to me as being able to be live with people.
Yeah. I think energetically it's very different. It's almost like one's 3D and one's 2D.
Yes, that's a good way of putting it, I think.
You know, it just feels very different. Yeah, and I think it's just that we're all connected. So
well, I hope you do get to sleep tonight though, because obviously that's not so good. And so how many sessions can you come to in a time that's suitable for Melbourne?
2 of them.
Right.
And so the first session is, you know, meditation. And then this session, which is your session 2, isn't it? So then the next session for us is at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And then the next session is at 4 a.m.
Yeah. Gosh. So that means, oh, I see. But then, is that what Vessantara referred to, that oceanic people, or Oceania, sorry if that's the right way of putting it, are you getting together in groups yourself at an appropriate time?
Yes.
Right.
So we do that at our time at midday.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, that's good. So you don't miss out on.
And it's really great that they've thought it through. So I've done quite a few online retreats of recent time. Actually, most of Carla and Sheila retreats and Maitreya Banda's retreat. Anyway, a number of them. So it's really great to have this opportunity.
Have you found then, obviously in any of those retreats, you've been able to do some sessions, as it were, at the normal time and then have, say if they're groups or something, have there been other people in your time zone who you've been able to link up with, say, to sort of be in a group to discuss meditation or whatever it is?
The Carla and Sheila retreats, the group time was at a time we could all go to.
Okay, that's
But
interesting.
but one of the teaching times wasn't, so I'd listen to that, so just different.
Yes, yeah,
And I think it's fine as long as I can work out the right sequence. If you don't work out the sequence, you miss what's going on. You can't quite work it out.
yeah. Now I can imagine that. Yeah, I think the groups are, well, obviously, not everybody would say that, but like for me, it's important to have the groups. I've really enjoyed the groups we've had, touching base with real people, as it were, at the time, seeing it in them in a big square, so they look more themselves and so on. I mean, it sounds a bit silly,
Yeah.
but nevertheless, it's important, isn't it? And
No, I think it's
yeah.
No, I think it's lovely.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Well,
hi, Davey.
yeah. So let other people have a chat now. Thank you. Very lovely to talk to you. Really. Thanks for
You
your
too. Good luck
computer
with
help,
the
both
photograph.
of you.
Hello, Shraddhanaya, and I can't remember who else was talking.
Padmajata.
It was. I've muted myself now, so other people can have a chat.
Padmajata.
Cambridge. You still in Cambridge, Padmajata?
Yeah.
Oh, hi, dear Manny.
Hello.
This is my brief talking time on my semi-solitary retreat.
You're doing your solitary this week. Oh, I thought it was last week.
No, this week. She said,
Very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
my computer suddenly went down in battery, as exciting as that is.
Oh,
dear.
needed some power source.
Hi, Durramani.
Hi, Bodhicitta. How are you?
Oh, a little bit spaced out from the meditation, to be honest.
Yeah, it's pretty strong, isn't it? I woke up this morning feeling like I'd been dreaming, and I think it was all to do with all the practice yesterday.
I actually had to go to work yesterday, so it's
Ah.
been like whiplash
Yes.
back into it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been quite hard.
Is New South Wales on school holidays?
Yes, but my HSC English class, the year 12s, they have 19 days until their exam, and the poor little loves are a little bit anxious about T.S. Eliot. So
What are they studying in TSA?
we're studying the Preludes, love song of J. Alfred Prufrock.
Oh, my favorite.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Journey of the Magi. The kids say to me, I just want to reach out and just give Prufrock a big hug.
Oh, dear.
And I feel the same way. So what else have we been doing? Oh, there's 5 prescribed poems. I can't remember them all now. But it's been really great introducing these young minds to Eliot.
Yeah, I did that. I did Eliot myself in year 12. 42 years ago. In fact, exactly the same poems.
He's still relevant. Hollow Men,
Yes,
It's all,
yes, we had the Hollow Men. Yeah,
it's all incredibly relevant.
fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, but they needed an extra class on how to express themselves very well. But they're good kids. They're really good kids.
I hope they go well. It's quite challenging with all this COVID, isn't it, for them?
Yeah, extremely. They also had a teacher abandon them in the 3rd week, and it was a very big blow to them. And so I had to step up and take them. And yeah, it's been hard for them. Plus all the lockdown and being online and all that. So yeah.
But also just not being able to have sort of ritual of end of year and all that sort of stuff as well.
No, it was very hard to do graduation. We managed to have a graduation of sorts for them. We had to make sure that it met all the requirements that were in place. the hardest thing we weren't able to have was our creative and performing arts night. I had a number of my drama students performing dramatic monologues, and it was very hard. We've managed to find a way to record it and put it together, but it's not the same as having a live audience to work to.
No.
My nephew's a partner for a Deb, for the Deb Ball or something, or his end of year something or other, and they gave them a choice of whether they wanted to do it next year, cancel it altogether, or do it on Zoom.
No.
So they had a choice of three ways of doing it. And my nephew decided, let's do it next year.
Well, yeah. And then but by the time that comes around, it might be over by then too.
Yeah.
I remember being quite shy in year 12. Doing it on Zoom would have suited me.
I think it would have suited me if it had existed as well.
Yeah.
Well done that you could.
White puffy dress.
Sorry, whoever that was, can we repeat? Sorry, I missed that.
It was me. I was just saying, well done for being able to put something together for your students.
Well, I had to happen. We're a tiny school. It's the only Buddhist high school in Australia and primary school in Australia, and everyone's got to sort of go in and do what has to be done. So, yeah, I'm very happy that I was able to join them, and it's been a delight. I'm lucky that all the texts are ones I was familiar with from university, Richard III and 1984, and so delightful to be able to explore them with the kids.
Well, I just got to ask because I probably missed. So, Bodhicitta, you work in the one Buddhist school in Australia?
That's correct. Yes.
Oh, high school. Sorry, Buddhist high school. Gosh, how exciting!
High school and primary school. So I was responsible for setting up the primary school, and that's been added to the high school that was already existing. So it's the only one in Australia.
Bodhicitta wrote the curriculum for the primary school here.
I did.
It's a few years ago now, isn't it?
We're in our third year, and it's an integrated curriculum. So all subjects are integrated around key themes with Dharma classes embedded in them as well. So yeah.
Can I ask a question? I'm just interested in hearing this. Where did you get funding for this?
Oh, it should be pointed out, it's not a Triratna school.
No, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an independent school. A particular sort of wealthy entrepreneur who Cambodian by birth, but only recently converted to Buddhism. He's quite evangelical in some ways. He was a businessman. He was able to fund the school and set it up. And the high school started with 6 kids, and now we have 100. And so he's been leading it pretty much with the focus on early sort of Pali Canon teachings. And me coming in essentially was to build the primary school and to work in the high school as an English and drama teacher. So all of the kind of business side of things has been handled by others, and the sort of creative curriculum side of things is more my area.
And
I don't know if that
hasn't attracted any government subsidies as yet? Is that likely to?
Yes, we have. We've had a number of grants, mainly for things like sporting equipment and sunshades and things like this. But the school's very small. We're not really sustainable. We need more students. Our primary school's doing very well, extremely well actually, in all our government tests. So we do get some funding, but we're very, very small.
Is this in Melbourne?
No, it's in Sydney. It's in southwest Sydney, which is a primarily sort of Vietnamese, Cambodian sort of environment. It's quite funny that I'm the white guy with the funny name, and everyone's Vietnamese with names like Mike and John. Because I'm Bodhicitta at work.
Have they got the capacity to expand if Bodhicitta?
They've actually just secured
taking more students?
to build a new school. And that school's audacious, what they're planning with that. It's $3 million. We've got retreat facilities, we've got sort of monastic quarters, because there's very much a tradition of, monastics. It's pools and gymnasiums and all that kind of thing. But we're going to need, millions and millions of dollars for that to happen.
Gosh.
Sorry, I didn't mean this to be.
No, it's very interesting. Can I ask maybe?
Yes. Exciting.
Yes. I was going to ask possibly a foolish question, but is it the parents who are Buddhist and then they decide, basically it's like a religious school, would the parents need to be Buddhist themselves, if you see what I mean, for the children to go, or could they be from I don't know, a humanist background? I'm just sort of speculating. Do you see what I mean?
There's no requirement of anyone to be Buddhist at the school. Most of the staff aren't. I'm the only Buddhist outside of the executive. Our school captain one year was a very devout Muslim boy who was the son of an imam, and he was sent to our school so he wouldn't be radicalized. And we've had devout Catholics. We've got Catholics on staff. There's no requirement for anyone to be Buddhist, staff or students. Yeah.
Fascinating.
All right, welcome back. I hope you found a drink that you liked. That's what you did, or some conversation that you enjoyed. So before the break, we were contemplating what we had in common. What we had in common with all life. And we did that meditation with all these countless beings, all breathing together, all in their different ways, different sorts of breaths that they were taking, but all breathing together. When it comes down to it, we have so much in common. So let's carry on with the text and go a little bit further. So we've just reflected that all beings are essentially like oneself insofar as they desire happiness and dislike suffering. And I was talking about the 4, I call them wasted efforts. Yeah, so preventing and eradicating things we dislike and producing and maintaining things that we do, which is all right on its own level, but that's a very superficial level, and it won't fulfill that furnace flame of what our heart really longs for ourselves and others. So then we reflect that all beings, oneself included, me too, though desiring happiness, do evil and therefore experience suffering again and again. So strange, isn't it? We all want to be happy. We're all doing our best to be happy, and yet it doesn't work. It works to a degree. Otherwise, life would be incredibly grim. But it really doesn't work very well. And there are different reasons for that. I mean, to set up the conditions for happiness on the everyday level takes an awful lot. And then to maintain those conditions takes even more. But fundamentally, it doesn't work because we're misunderstanding the nature of experience. That's really why it doesn't work. Yeah. And so we're looking in the wrong place for happiness. And we're back to those 3 levels of dukkha. And I suppose I've mentioned the Arya Pariyesana Sutta a couple of times on this retreat. Yeah, there's the noble quest and the ignoble quest. So the ignoble quest is that here we are, we're subject to old age, sickness and death, and all those forces of change, and we go and look for happiness from things that are also subject to falling apart and decaying. And so how is that going to work? How could it work? But still, that's what most of us are doing most of the time. And particularly when we're surrounded by a society which is, really feels that that is the way to do it. People who are wandering the shopping malls of destiny. Yeah, it's very easy for us to get sort of pulled into that. It's to be affected by that. The gravitational pull of the view of how you're supposed to be happy that is all around us is very strong indeed. Which is one of the many reasons why we have a sangha, why we need an order. We need to keep as much as possible coming back to a base where the view of life is that the way to happiness is the noble quest. The way to life is actually finding the deathless. It's finding what's free from the suffering of expecting the condition to give us unconditional happiness. So all beings, including myself, we want to be happy, but we do evil. At which point it's better than it used to be, but still the ghosts of my Catholic conditioning come in and say, well, is it really evil? Because somewhere in my consciousness, evil has connotations that are, it's more than just that we completely misunderstood, and it's somehow even more than that misunderstanding is linked with a whole lot of negative emotions. There's a sort of added dimension that I don't personally find helps me, so I have to kind of set that word in context. But in all the texts, if we go back to Shantideva, he uses the word papa, which is is a strong word. It's a strong word, papa. Yes, can't remember what the Tibetan is. So we do evil. So yes, we do sometimes some really selfish, mean, unthinkingly cruel and hurtful things. But whether we want to describe them as evil, whether it helps us in terms of developing bodhicitta to think in that way, we can decide for ourselves. But the effect of the kleshas and the nyaya and what comes out of those is that the freedom and the love and the understanding of awakening don't happen. And however you look at it, that is such an evil, compared to how things could be, that we need a really, really strong word. Yeah, so although we want to be happy, we look in the wrong place, we go the wrong way about it, we don't understand how life works, and therefore we do things which keep landing us in unhappiness, unfulfillment, and keep us as part of the problem, not just for ourselves, but for those around us, again and again and again. And so we experience suffering. Yeah, if there's a fundamental misunderstanding in place, there's no way that things are going to work out well. And like prisoners, unable to escape from jail, from prison, because of our own stupidity, we all revolve endlessly in samsara. What a pity. So we create a situation, yes, in which rather than having the freedom of the entire openness of mind, rather than ranging happily, feeling connected with the whole of the screen and able to happily engage with all of it or any part of it, just flowing free awareness, we end up caught up in this one box, and those dark lines around it kind of become a prison. And we don't know how to get out. Because of our own stupidity, and again, I have trouble with that word, because a lot of people can easily feel, well, I'm just stupid. If I was more, somehow stupidity can relate to intelligence. If I was more intelligent, this wouldn't be happening. But some extremely clever people create the same, sometimes very complex messes for themselves as people who don't have that intelligence. Yeah. So gaining awakening, thankfully, isn't really anything to do with intelligence and stupidity. Yeah. So certainly it's nothing about learning necessarily. Yeah. A lot of illiterate people, starting with the Buddha, have gained awakening. Yeah. You don't need tremendous intelligence to do the Dharma. You just need to be able to really look at experience deeply. You need to be able to do the work of finding a way out of the kleshas and living with an open heart, and it can all happen. So yes, because of our own lack of awareness, lack of understanding, we all revolve endlessly in samsara. And samsara, I don't know, sometimes I've been on retreat somewhere, some place like Adhisthana, and somebody will say, it's the last morning, I've got to go back to samsara. But samsara isn't a place. It's not the terrible city or anything like that. Samsara is the way we use our minds. So we can use our minds in a samsaric way or a nirvanic way. And the reason why we revolve in samsara is because we've practiced over a long period of time using our minds in ways that mean that we don't understand how things are, and we just repeat the same kind of habits in different ways, sometimes slightly improved versions, sometimes slightly worse versions, but just again and again and again and again. Sort of based on our misunderstanding, we create worlds for ourselves to live in. So all of us create different, we choose out of all the possibilities of our experience based on our previous karma, our previous conditioning, our previous habits. We focus on particular things. So yeah, if I had spent years as, you know, really interested in interior design and ideal homes and things, you know, I'd look at this screen and I'd think, oh, I'm not sure about that wallpaper, or does that, maybe if that ornament was shifting a bit. So out of this particular screen, you know, I go into a particular world. I create a sort of selection, and I focus in on it, and I go into that world. So I go into interior design world. Or yes, if I'm into hairstyles or whatever, you know, I'm focusing on something else. Just again and again and again, out of the range of possible experience, we focus, and out of that, we create a world. We're led in a particular direction by our karma, and then we engage energy with it. So if we don't understand where happiness lies, well, we'll just keep doing that endlessly. So yeah, and from a Buddhist point of view, as mind doesn't cease at death, after death, mind will, Nibbana, will create more worlds, and at a certain point will create a world that we feel drawn to, and then there'll be a whole new set of experiences, and on and on and on. So until we actually come to the point of understanding how things are, we can revolve and revolve and revolve. And so can everybody else around us. So can all of us. What a pity. I always read that line and it sounds a bit, bathos, I think is the word in English. It doesn't sound strong enough. Yeah. It's not a pity. Well, it is a pity, but it's, you know, it's a tragedy. It's a disaster. It's an unthinkable catastrophe. Words don't do it justice. Yeah. We just look at the, you know, all the really good people on the screen in front of us, you know, just the amount of suffering that we've gone through in our lives, you know, even as good people and having found the Dharma and so on. Yeah, it's tremendous. And then we can just multiply that indefinitely. Yeah. And it's all based on the fact that we don't understand how things are. And because of that, we also just run with the kleshas. You know, we run with our craving. We run with our hatred. We run with our jealousy, rather than seeing, you know, just the danger in it. So that's the situation that we're in, but at least we've been shown a way out, and we're on the track of it and finding it to a degree, and we can find it more and more and more. But it's also the same situation that we're all in. So yeah, you have this, I think I mentioned in the retreat last year, it's like you have this phrase in English, you know, we're all in the same boat. And actually, when you do these reflections, you realize that that boat is the Titanic, basically. Yeah. If we keep on doing what we're doing, you know, we'll end up where we're headed. That's there are icebergs up ahead. So really feeling that, actually allowing ourselves to feel something of that, moves us to, as it moved the Buddha, to want to find a way out, to find a way out for ourselves and for all those we care about. And the more we feel what's in common, we care about everyone. So in our own way, we end up doing what the Buddha did. We may not leave home and go off into the jungle, but we leave behind, you know, that sense that, you know, happiness is going to come from having enough of this and avoiding that. We come right down to the existential situation and say, well, you know, even if there's a cure for COVID, you know, next year, great. Everyone will still die of something. Even if we cure climate change, you know, even if we solve that problem, even if, you know, we get those hydrogen fueled planes and etc. Yeah, still everything will end in tears sooner or later in some way or another. The answers aren't found on that level, finally. And yeah, we can all engage with issues. We, you know, whatever level of the 3 levels of suffering we help to cure is great. You know, whatever we can do, you know, just to alleviate mundane suffering, you know, even if we can just give somebody a cup of tea that they like rather than one they dislike, well, excellent. You know, we want people to be happy. But fundamentally, we somehow have stumbled upon a way of living and understandings that can completely free, completely answer the whole issue of suffering, so that even though we're going to die, even though everything is going to end in tears, still there's freedom, still there's love, still there's understanding. We can be independent of being affected by those things eventually, and we can help others. We've actually have a way out, and there isn't much of it around on the planet. So it's when we see that we go for refuge, and we do whatever we can to help others to do that. Okay, that's enough for now, I think. So let's do a bit of meditation. And then in session 3, we'll go on and we'll do point 4. So coming back to neutral. Wheels of thinking and emotion, energy may still be spinning. But we're not adding any momentum to them. Not asking mind and body to do anything. Except be there and be aware. Making sure now that we're connected to the earth, and that our posture is one that, as much as possible, allows our energy to flow freely. And letting the body become a field of kindly awareness. And in this field of kindly awareness, a whole galaxy of sensations coming and going. Not choosing where to focus. Now aware of the breathing. Now again, coming to our heart center. See if we can get back in touch with our heart wish for ourselves. Now let's be aware that in all of us, there's a heart wish. Maybe very buried, but in everyone we know, everyone we don't know. There's that heart longing longing for freedom, longing for love, longing to know how it really is. Longing to be really at peace, to finally relax. Longing to be not restricted, to have energy just flowing, really flowing freely. And so on. And just for a few minutes, just reflecting on what the Buddha called the ignoble and noble quests. How those heart wishes can never be satisfied by clinging to things, by the whole approach of the ignoble quest. And before we finish, dedicating the whole practice to all these beings. May we all find the path to freedom. May we all find the path to love and compassion, the path to wisdom, the path to peace. Okay, thank you for that. As usual, any questions, you can email me, put them in the chat, and see some of you for session 3. Go on.